Hey guys, I'm T and welcome to the channel. If you're new here, we make trendy and fun crochet tutorials twice a week. And if you haven't already, smash that like button, drop a comment down below, and subscribe to join in on the fun. Today I'll be teaching how to make a modern crochet vest. For this project, we were thinking sporty business cash, and here's where we landed. A Basketweave vest that pairs perfectly with some trousers for a night of fun, or pair it with a skirt for a more serious affair. The choice is yours. Speaking of, if you love being spoiled by choices, you are in the right place. We have hundreds of modern crochet patterns fit for all styles with new patterns weekly, so consider clicking the bell to subscribe and you'll never miss an upload. Also, do me a huge favor and give this video a big thumbs up if you like it, or 2 thumbs down if you don't. Either way, it's a great way to show support so we can keep putting out free tutorials every Wednesday and Sunday. Now, it's time to get on the show, so without further ado. For this project, any category 4 yarn will work, but I used a total of 175 grams of yarn, and that's 300 yards if you're stateside. As for the tools, a 5mm hook, scissors, stitch markers, and a tape measure. There is a written pattern down below. Use offer code TCDDIY for a discount off any $9.99 plus order, and enter this week's pattern giveaway by telling us your favorite type of popcorn, savory or sweet. I'm a savory popcorn type myself, but I will share some kettle corn with my mom from time to time. Details for the giveaway down below. We're using 4 stitches for this project, and they'll be as follows. Chain, slip stitch, single crochet, half double crochet, and double crochet. This tutorial is for size small, but you can adjust it for your size, and we explain how to in the video, so let's get started. Getting this top started, we're all going to grab our category 4 yarn and make a slip knot. Next, we're all going to grab our 5mm hook, and we're all going to start by making a chain that is in multiples of 3 that reaches from mid-underarm across our chest to mid-underarm. And we want to make sure that we're measuring across our chest because we need for this piece to be able to fit over our chest when we wear it. So I'm going to start by making a chain that is 11.5 inches or 29 centimeters, and that's a chain of 48. And since we're working this piece horizontally, we want to make sure that this is fitted, so we want to make sure that we're keeping our chain as taut as possible. Now that we have our chain, we're going to chain 1 extra. That's going to count as our base chain. Now right after that, we're going to block off that last chain and do a chain 2. That chain 2 does not count as a stitch, that's our turning chain. And from here, we're going to do a half double crochet row. So start with the yarn over, and insert your hook into that chain that we blocked off, or the 3rd chain from our hook, with a half double crochet. So insert your hook into that stitch, pull through, yarn over, pull through all 3. Let's do another. Yarn over, into that next chain, insert your hook, pull through all 3, and continue putting 1 half double crochet into every chain. We now have our row 1 all finished. Now let's get started on our row 2, or our first basket weave row. So at the end of our row 1, we're all going to chain 2 and flip our work. Now our basket weave detail is going to be worked in sets of 3, and there are going to be 3 front post double crochets, then 3 back post double crochets, and then repeat till the end of the row. So let's all get started with our set of 3 front post double crochets. We're all going to start by yarning over once. We're going to skip that first stitch from our row 1 and find that second half double crochet from our row 1, and we're going to insert our hook underneath the body of that stitch. So we're going to skip 1, and finding that half double crochet body, we're going to insert our hook underneath and through the other side of that stitch. From here, we're going to yarn over, pull through for 3 loops on our hook. Then we're going to yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Now that is our first front post double crochet. Let's do the next. Yarn over again. Finding that following half double crochet from our row 1, we're going to bring our hook down. Underneath the body of that next half double crochet, bring our hook through the other side. Yarn over, pull through for 3 loops on our hook. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, and pull through 2, and they're worked in sets of 3, so let's do one more. Starting with a yarn over, we're going to bring our hook down into that following half double crochet, bring our hook underneath and through the other side. Yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, and pull through 2. Now all together we should have a set of 3 front post double crochets. Now let's do 3 back post double crochets. So let's all start with a yarn over. Our back post double crochets are going to start with bring our hook underneath our work and then over that following half double crochet. So bring our hook underneath, into that next gap that's right next to our following half double crochet, and now bring our hook over the body of that half double crochet and through the other side just like that. And then we're going to yarn over, pull through for 3 loops on our hook. Then we're going to yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Now that is our first back post double crochet. Let's do 2 more. So yarning over again, bring our hook underneath our work, into that following gap. There we go. And then over that following half double crochet body and through the other side. Then we're going to yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. We have 2 back posts. Let's do one more back post. So yarn over, bring our hook underneath our work, through that next gap, and over that following half double crochet, through the other side, pull through everything. Then we're going to yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Now all together we should have 3 front post double crochets and 3 back post double crochets. And we're going to continue on with this until we reach the end of the row. So let's do our following sets. So another set of 3 front posts and another set of 3 back posts a little bit quicker. Start with the yarn over and find that following half double crochet. We're going to be doing our set of 3 front post double crochets now, so bring our hook underneath and through the other side of that half double crochet, pull through 2, pull through 2, another one, so yarn over, underneath the body of that following half double crochet, pull through 2, pull through 2, and then once more, yarn over, underneath the following half double crochet, pull through 2, pull through 2, and now let's do our 3 back posts. So yarn over, bring our hook now underneath our work, into that next gap, and over that following half double crochet, pull through 2, pull through 2, and again, yarn over, underneath our work, over that following half double, pull through 2, pull through 2, and then once more, yarn over, underneath our work, over that following half double, pull through 2, pull through 2. Now all together, we should all have 3 front posts, 3 back posts, 3 front posts, and 3 back post double crochets. We're going to continue doing this until we reach the end of the row. We have made our way down to the end of our row 2. From here, we're going to close off every row with a half double crochet just to keep it nice and blunt along the edges. So yarn over, find that last stitch from our previous row, insert your hook in through there, pull through all 3, and now our row 2 is complete. Now let's get started on our row 3. So chain 2 and flip your work. Now getting started with every odd number row, it's going to be an extension of our previous row stitches. So these odd number stitches may be a little bit different for everyone. So as you guys can see, my first 3 stitches look like 3 front post double crochets. So I will be doing 3 front post double crochets. But if your first 3 posts look like 3 back post double crochets, you'll be doing 3 back posts. So let's just do our first set of posts together. Mine look like 3 front posts, so let's get started for my first front post double crochet, so yarn over. We're going to find that front post double crochet from our previous row, making sure we're not working in through that half double crochet. Insert your hook underneath the body of that stitch, through the other side, pull through 2, pull through 2. We have 2 more, so yarn over. Insert your hook underneath the body of that following stitch, pull through 2, pull through 2, and then 1 more. Yarn over and insert your hook underneath the body of that following stitch, pull through 2, pull through 2. Now my first 3 stitches are done. Let's do our following 3 stitches. Mine look like 3 back posts, so I'll be doing 3 back posts. So getting that started, we're going to yarn over. Since mine are 3 back posts, I'm going to bring my hook underneath my work, over my following post from my previous row, insert, pull through 2, pull through 2. Let's do the other 2. Yarn over. I'm going to bring my hook underneath my work and over that following stitch through the other side, pull through 2, pull through 2, and one more. So I'm going to yarn over and do my last back post double crochet. And that's it. From here, we're going to continue to extend our previous row stitches. So since my next set of stitches look like 3 front posts, I'll be doing 3 front posts, 3 back posts, 3 front posts, and so on and so forth. And I'll meet you back at the end of the row. Our first 1, 2, 3 rows are nearly finished. At the end of every row, like I said, we're going to have to close it off with a half double crochet. So yarn over, insert your hook into that last stitch from our previous row with a half double crochet, and now our row 3 is complete. Let's get started on our row 4, so chain 2 and flip our work. Now for every even number row, we're going to be doing the opposite from what our previous row stitches look like. So since my first set of stitches look like 3 front post double crochets, I will now be doing 3 back posts. But if yours look like 3 back posts, you will be doing 3 front posts, and so on and so forth, doing the opposite of every set till we reach the end of the row. So let's do my first 2 sets together. Like I said, my first 3 stitches look like 3 front posts, so I'll now be doing 3 back posts. So yarn over, going to bring your hook underneath your work, over that following first stitch, pull through 2, pull through 2, and that is my first back post double crochet. Let's do the next 2. Yarn over, bring our hook underneath our work again, over that following stitch from our previous row, pull through 2, pull through 2, and just one more, yarn over, bring our hook underneath our work, over that following stitch, pull through 2, pull through 2. Now my first 3 stitches are finished. Let's do my next 3 stitches together. Since these look like 3 back posts for me, I will be doing 3 front posts now. So yarn over and bring your hook underneath that following stitch, pull through 2, pull through 2. Again, yarn over, bring your hook underneath that following stitch, pull through 2, pull through 2, and just once more, yarn over, underneath that next stitch, pull through 2, and pull through 2. And from here, we're going to continue on to do the opposite from what our previous row stitches look like. So since my next set look like 3 front posts, I'll be doing another set of 3 back posts, 3 front posts, and so on and so forth until we reach the end of the row. We now have 1, 2, 3, 4 rows nearly finished. Now let's close off our 4th row with yet another half double crochet. So yarn over and insert your hook into that last stitch from our previous row, pull through all 3 with a half double crochet. Now we have 4 rows finished. Let's get started on our row 5, so chain 2 and flip your work. Now we are getting started on our row 5. Like I said in one of our previous clips, each of our odd number rows is going to be an extension of our previous row stitches. So as an example, my first 3 set of stitches look like 3 back post double crochets, so I will again be doing 3 back post double crochets. So let's all yarn over. We're going to bring our hook underneath our work, over that first stitch, through the other side, pull through 2, pull through 2, and we have 2 more left to do, so yarn over, bring our hook underneath that following stitch, pull through 2, pull through 2, and then 1 more, so yarn over, underneath our work, over that next stitch, with a back post double crochet. Now to do my following set of stitches, I have 3 front post double crochets, so I'm going to be extending those stitches with another set of 3 front post double crochets. So yarn over, insert your hook underneath that stitch with 1 front post double, underneath that following with another front post double, and underneath that following with a front post double. Now if your first set of stitches look like 3 front posts, you will be doing 3 front posts, 3 back posts to the end of the row. Now continue doing our set of stitches until we reach the end of the row, and then I will meet you back. We now have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows nearly finished, we're going to do a half double crochet to end our row 5. So yarn over, insert your hook into that last stitch from our previous row with a half double crochet, and we should all have 5 rows completed. From here, we're going to continue to repeat rows 2 through 5 until we get the body length that we'd like. So we're going to be placing this first row right about where the bottom of this top is going to be, keeping in mind that we will have a bottom band. I'd like for mine to be just above my jeans, so I'm going to be placing my first row at my waist, but feel free to make this cropped or full length. Like I said, we're going to continue to repeat rows 2 through 5 until this reaches all the way up until we're about an inch underneath our underarm. So let's just get started on the following row and let you guys do the rest on your own. So after our row 5, we're going to chain 2 and flip. So we're getting started on our row 6. Like I said, each of our even number rows is going to be the opposite from our previous row stitches. So my first set of stitches look like 3 back post double crochets, so I will now be doing 3 front post double crochets. So yarn over, insert your hook underneath that first with my first front post double crochet. There is my second front post double crochet. There is my third front post double crochet. Now, since my following set of stitches look like 3 front posts, I will now be doing 3 back posts into there. And I'm going to continue to do the opposite from my previous row stitches until we reach the end of the row. When we reach the end of the row, don't forget to close it off with a half double crochet. And right after that is our row 7, and for each of our odd number rows, we're going to be extending our previous row stitches. And I'll meet you back right after we're about to get started on a repeat of row 2 when we're about an inch underneath our underarm. I am back with the height of my piece. I have a total of 25 rows, and my height is just about 8.5 inches or 22 centimeters, and now we're going to get started on the underarm. So let's all start with a chain 3 and flip our work. Now to do the underarm, we're going to need to do a decrease of 3 double crochets into the beginning and into the end of every other row. So let's get this started. What we're going to do after our chain 3 is yarn over, preparing for a decrease of 3 double crochets. Now we're going to be skipping that first stitch that we have from our previous row because that's the top of our half double crochet, and we're going to work into that second stitch, yarn over, pull through, into that following stitch, yarn over, pull through, and into the stitch right after that, yarn over, pull through. We're going to yarn over, pull through the first 1, 2, 3, 4 loops on our hook to get 2 loops, and then we're going to yarn over, pull through 2. That is how we do our decrease of 3 double crochets, and as you guys can probably tell, we have taken up the same amount of stitches as one set. Now from here, since we all should have met back right before we're about to get started on a repeat of row 2, our first set of stitches that we have available here should be front post double crochets, so now we are all going to be doing back post double crochets. So yarn over. We're going to do our first set of 3 back post double crochets. So there is 1, there is my second, and here is my third. Right after that first set, we're going to continue to do the opposite of what our previous row's stitches look like until we have 1 set left, or a total of 3 stitches. We've made our way all the way down with our first decrease row, and we should all have 1 set left, or a total of 1, 2, 3 stitches left. Now we're going to be doing a decrease of 3 double crochets into there as well. So yarn over, and insert your hook into that following stitch, or the third to last stitch, pull through, into that second to last, pull through, and into that last, pull through for a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 loops on our hook. Then from here we're going to yarn over, pull through the first 4 loops to get a total of 2 loops on our hook. Then we're going to yarn over, pull through 2. And right before we get started on the following row, we're going to need to insert stitch markers into the edges of this row so we know where our first decrease row is. So now that we've inserted our stitch markers, let's get started on our following row, and it's not going to be a decrease row, so chain 2 and flip your work. Now, since we're about to get started on an odd number row, like I said, for the body portion, each of our odd number rows is going to be an extension of our previous row stitches. So since my first set of stitches look like 3 back post double crochets, I will again be doing 3 back posts. So yarn over, and I'm going to start with my 3 back post double crochets. And now that I have that, I'm going to continue to extend our previous row stitches until we reach the end of the row, making sure that we end off this row with a half double crochet. So now our first 2 rows for our underarm are finished. So our first row was a decrease row, so we did a decrease of 3 double crochets into the beginning. And then our following row was just a regular basket weave row, which just extended our previous row stitches. Now we're going to continue on with these rows until this portion that we have can reach all the way to about an inch underneath the base of our neck. And I'll meet you back right after an odd number row so that we can start working on the shoulder strap from there. I am back and my underarm portion is all finished. I now have a total of 33 rows and my total height is 10.5 inches or 27 centimeters. Now from here, we're going to do our shoulder strap. So right before we get started on our strap, what we're going to do is insert our stitch markers into any stitch from the end, making sure that our stitch markers are on the outer edges of the base of our neck. And from the stitch markers towards the end is going to be as wide as our strap will be. Now we want to make sure that we're inserting our stitch marker into stitches that is in multiples of 3 plus 1, because we're going to be half double crocheting into those edges just to keep it nice and blunt. So I've actually inserted my stitch markers into the 4th stitch from the end, so I needed just about an inch for my strap. So I counted in 3 stitches, which is the same amount of stitches as one set, plus an additional 1. So I've inserted my stitch marker into the 4th stitch from the outer edges. Now from here we can get started with our strap. So we're going to chain 2 and flip our work. Since we all should have ended right after an odd number row, getting started on our even number row, we're all going to do the opposite from what our previous set looks like. So since mine look like 3 back posts, I will now be doing 3 front posts. And continue to do your sets until you reach your stitch marker. And my stitch markers aren't in at this time, but I am now at my 4th stitch, which is where my stitch marker should be. So I'm going to be doing a half double crochet into that stitch to secure this row. And now from here, we're going to chain 2 and flip our work. We are now working on an odd number row, so we're going to be extending our previous row stitches. So since mine look like 3 back posts, I will now be doing 3 back posts again, and making sure that we end the row with a half double crochet. And that's basically it. We're going to continue doing our basket weave stitches with the same row sequence that we've been doing for our previous rows. So as an example, every even number row is going to be the opposite from what our previous row looked like, and every odd number row is going to be extension of our previous even number row. And we're going to continue this until this reaches the top of our shoulder. When we have that, do a chain up a 1 and cut, and then I will meet you back so we can get started on the other strap. I have just finished up one of my shoulder straps. I have a total of 43 rows, and my total height is now 14.5 inches or 37 centimeters. And now we're going to do the other strap that we have. So let's all start by inserting our hook into that stitch marker stitch that we have. We are now going to insert our yarn onto our hook, pull through, and start with a chain 2. Just for this first row, this does count as a stitch. And now from here, since this row should be an even number row, we're going to be doing the opposite from what our previous row's stitches look like. So since my first set right here looks like 3 front posts, I will now be doing 3 back posts. And now that my first set is finished, if you have more stitches to do, continue to do the opposite from what our previous row's stitches look like. And when we reach the end of the row, remember to half double crochet into that last stitch. And from here, chain 2, flip our work. And since we're now doing an odd number row, extend what our previous row stitches look like. So since mine look like 3 front posts, I will now be doing 3 front posts. And from here, we're going to continue to do our basket weave stitches for the same amount of rows that we have for this first shoulder portion. When we have the same amount of rows, do a chain up a 1 and cut, and then I will meet you back. So I am back and I have just finished up the length of my shoulder pieces. Now I did do a chain up of 1 and cut once when I finished up the second one, and now we're going to get started on the back panel. And the back panel is going to be done pretty much the same way as the front panel, but we aren't going to have shoulder straps. We're just going to have our basket weave rows working our way all the way up. So I'm going to show you guys how we do that once we get there. So what we're going to do is start off by making the same chain that we made when we started our front panel, Continue to do our basket weave rows until we reach our decrease portion, and our decrease portion is going to be exactly the same. I'll meet you back when we have the total amount of rows that we have right before we get started on our shoulder portion, and then I'll meet you back just to remind you that we're going to work all the way across, back and forth for the same amount of rows. So I am back with my back panel. I've just made my way all the way up with my height and my decrease or underarm rows, and now from here we're just going to continue to do our pattern of our basket weave, going back and forth, making our way all the way up until we have the total amount of rows as our front panel. So the back panel isn't going to have this neckline cut out. So from here, just chain 2, flip our work, and then repeat our basket weave rows. I'll meet you back when we have this portion of our back panel finished up right after a chain up of 1 and cut. So now that both of our panels are all finished up, we are now going to need to single crochet along the edges of both our front and our back panel with a single crochet row to make it easier to seam. So let's get started with that single crochet row. So let's grab one of our panels and insert our hook into the bottom corner stitch. We're now going to insert our yarn onto our hook, pull through, and do a chain up of 1 to secure. Let's just do the first few sets. Now we're going to be alternating between 1 to 2 single crochet into every side row. So let's start by finding our first side row. This is mine right here. I'm going to insert my hook into that top loop, and if you guys are like me and have some tail ends, place that over your hook to weave it in as you go, and single crochet around everything. There's my first. Now let's do the following. Our following set is going to be a set of 2 single crochets into that same side row. So here's my first single crochet, and into that same side row, insert the second single crochet, and that's it. We're going to continue to alternate between 1 to 2 single crochet until we reach our stitch marker stitch, making sure that our last single crochet is worked into the row that's right before our decrease. When we reach that, do a chain up of 1 and cut, and then repeat this for all the other sides for our panels, and then I'll meet you back. So now that our single crochet rows are finished up on both the front and the back panel, we're now going to seam it together. So let's all start by placing our front panel on top of our back panel, and then we're going to insert our hook into the bottom corner stitch of both of our panels. We are then going to insert our yarn onto our hook, pull through everything, and then do a chain up of 1 to secure. Now let's do the first one. Let's all start by finding that first stitch into the front panel and insert our hook in through there. Then we're going to find that next stitch into the back panel, insert our hook in through there, and then single crochet. But if you're like me, you have some tail ends, go ahead and place it over your hook and single crochet around everything. Let's do this again. Find that next stitch into the front panel and insert your hook. Next stitch into the back panel, insert your hook into there, and single crochet. And then that's it. We're going to continue this until we don't have any more stitches left to work into. When we don't, do a chain up of 1 and cut, then repeat on the other side. So now that our sides are all seamed up, let's seam our shoulders. So we're first going to make sure that our work is still flipped wrong side out, meaning the seams that we just did for the sides is still flipped along the outside. And then we're going to be inserting our hook into the top corner stitch of both the front and the back panel. And this is going to be the same seam as the sides, so let's just get this started. Insert your yarn onto your hook, pull through, do a chain up of 1 to secure, and since we already know how to do this, let's just do the first one. Let's all start by finding that first stitch into the front panel, insert your hook, next stitch into the back panel, insert your hook. Since I have tail ends, I will place that over my hook and single crochet. And we're going to continue to do this until we don't have any more stitches left to work into the front panel. When we don't, do a chain up of 1 and cut, and then we're going to repeat on the other side. So now that everything is all seamed together, let's get started on our bottom band. Now that's going to be pretty simple. We're all going to start off by making sure that our work is now flipped right side out, meaning the seams that we have for the side and the shoulders are along the inside now. And then we're going to insert our hook into any one of the stitches that we have along the bottom. Let's insert our yarn onto our hook, pull through, do a chain up of 1 to secure, and we're all going to start by just putting 1 single crochet into every stitch, making our way all the way around. So insert your hook into that first stitch with 1 single crochet, into that following with another, and continue this, making our way all the way around. And just as a really quick tip, this single crochet row is going to be as wide as this piece can stretch. So try it on once we made our way all the way around and slip stitch into that chain space. If it's a little too tight, redo some stitches with a looser grip, or if it's a little too loose, redo some stitches with a tighter grip. Now that our single crochet row along the bottom is all finished, now we're going to make a chain the length that we'd like for the bottom band to be. And I'd like for mine to be about 1 inch or 2 centimeters, so I'm going to start by making the chain 6. Now that we have our chain, we're getting started on our row 1, which is a slip stitch row. So start by blocking out that last chain and do a chain 1. Into that chain that we blocked off with a second chain from our hook, insert with a slip stitch. So insert into that second chain, yarn over, pull through everything. Again, into that following chain, yarn over, pull through everything, and that's it. We're going to continue to put 1 slip stitch into every chain, making sure that we're not tugging too tightly after every stitch. Otherwise, the following row can be a little too tight to work into. So now that we're back at the base, we're going to slip stitch it into the base to close off our row 1. So we're going to start by finding that first available stitch and insert your hook into there with a slip stitch. Now that slip stitch doesn't count as a stitch, that's just to connect it, and we do need to slip stitch into that following stitch into the base to work our way up to the following row. So into that next stitch into the base, insert with a slip stitch, and flip our work. Now those 2 slip stitches into the base don't count as a stitch, and from here we're going to be putting 1 back loop slip stitch into every stitch. So start by finding that last stitch from our previous row, and insert into that back loop, yarn over, pull through everything, and again into that following stitch's back loop, yarn over, and pull through everything. And we're going to continue doing this until we reach the end of the row. When we reach the end of the row, chain 1, flip our work, and put 1 back loop slip stitch into every stitch, and I'll meet you back at the base. So we are back and we have 1, 2, 3 rows nearly finished. Now I need to connect it into the base. So start by finding that next available stitch into the base, insert your hook with a slip to close off our row 3, then slip stitch into the next stitch into the base to work our way up to the following row. Flip our work. We're going to continue to do our back loop slip stitch rows with no increases and no decreases, making our way all the way around. And when we don't have any more stitches left to work into, I will meet you back to seam everything together. So I've made my way all the way around with my back loop slip stitch rows. Now we're going to seam it together by doing an outside loop slip stitch seam now. So let's all start by making sure that our work is still flipped right side out, and then we're going to insert our hook into the bottom corner stitch of both the front and the back panel. We're going to yarn over, pull through everything on our hook, and now let's all start by finding that first stitch into the front panel and insert our hook only in through that front loop. Next, we're going to find that next stitch into the back panel and insert our hook only in through that back loop, and when we have those 3 loops, yarn over, pull through all 3. That's our first. Let's do another. Finding that next stitch into the front panel, insert only into that front loop. Finding the next stitch into the back panel, insert only into that back loop. Yarn over, pull through all 3, and that's it. We're going to continue doing this until we don't have any more stitches left to work into, then do a chain up of 1 and cut. So now that the entirety of our bottom band is finished, we're now going to get started on our collar. But right before we get started on that, we're going to need to insert our stitch markers into the front panel and into the back panel where our 2 middle stitches are, and they should be the same for both. So really quickly, for those of you that have my numbers, from my first available stitch over here, all the way across to my last available stitch along this side, I have a total of 16 stitches. And since we should all have an even number of stitches, we're all going to have 2 middle stitches. My 2 middle stitches are my 8th and my 9th stitch, and those numbers should actually be the same for the front panel as well. So insert your stitch markers into the 2 middle stitches that we have into the front panel as well. And once we have our stitch markers into place, let's get started on our first single crochet row. So let's flip our work over and look at the back. We're all going to start by inserting our hook into any one of the stitches that we have along the back of our neckline. And from here, we're going to do a single crochet row. So we're going to be putting 1 single crochet into every stitch. Once we reach the side of the shoulder portion, we will alternate between 1 to 2 single crochets into every side row. Working across the front, we should have regular stitches again, so put 1 single crochet into every stitch. So this single crochet row is going to be fairly simple. We just want to make sure that once we reach our stitch marker stitches, we're inserting our stitch markers back into those stitches so that we know where the beginning and the end of our collar section is going to be. Make your way all the way around, slip stitch into that chain space, do a chain up 1 and cut, and then I will meet you back. So now that our single crochet row is all finished up, we're going to need to work on our collar. So we're going to start working from the front back. We're going to start by making a chain the length that we'd like for the front of our collar to be, keeping in mind that it is going to get thinner the further back we get. So we're going to make sure that our work is flipped right side out. Right side up, insert our hook into our stitch marker stitch, insert our yarn onto our hook, and I'm going to start by making a chain that is 3 inches or 8 centimeters, and that's a chain 15. Now that we have our chain, we're going to block off that last chain and do a chain 2. Now that chain 2 doesn't count as a stitch, that's just our turning chain, and now we're going to half double crochet into our chain. So yarn over, and insert our hook into that chain that we blocked off, or the third chain from our hook, with a half double crochet. So insert, pull through all 3, and continue doing this until we have 2 chains left. So we've made our way down, putting 1 half double crochet into every chain, leaving the last 2. Now into the last 2, we're going to be doing a decrease of 2 half double crochets. So we're all going to yarn over and insert our hook into that second to last chain and pull through. Then we're also going to be inserting our hook into that last chain, pull through, yarn over, pull through all 4. And now this first row is complete, and we now need to connect it into the base. So connecting it into the base is going to be the same way that we connected our bottom band. So we're going to find that next available stitch into the base, slip stitch into there, and now our row 1 is complete. Now to work our way up to the following row, we need to slip stitch into that next stitch into the base. Those 2 slip stitches into the base don't count as a stitch, and we are going to flip our work. And since we're working on an even number row, or we're along the base, we're going to start with a decrease of 2 half double crochets. So yarn over and insert your hook into that last stitch from our previous row, pull through, also into that following stitch, pull through, yarn over, pull through all 4, and continue putting 1 half double crochet into every stitch until we reach the end of the row. When we reach the end of the row, we're going to chain 2, flip our work, and then put 1 half double crochet into every stitch, leaving the last 2 stitches right before the base, and I'll meet you back to decrease together once more. We are back, and we have nearly finished 1, 2, 3 half double crochet rows. At the end of our third half double crochet row, we should have left the last 2 stitches so that we can do a decrease together once more. So to do a decrease, yarn over and insert your hook into that second to last stitch, pull through, also into that last stitch, pull through, yarn over, pull through all 4. Now to connect our row 3, we're going to find that next available stitch into the base, slip stitch it into there to connect any odd number row, and to work our way up to the following row or any even number row, slip stitch into that next stitch into the base, flip our work, and then repeat our row 2. So this is going to start with a decrease of 2 half double crochets, and then after the decrease, put 1 half double crochet into every stitch. And from here, we're going to continue to repeat our 2 previous rows until this portion of our collar becomes the total width that we like, because remember, it is going to thin out the further back we get. And I'll meet you back along the base to show you what mine looks like and what we're going to do after that. I'm back, and I've continued to do my decreases all the way until I have a total of 9 rows, or now the length of my collar is roughly about 1 inch or 2 centimeters. Now from here, this is the width that I like for my collar to be, so I'm going to continue to do my previous rows, but now without the decreases. So let's all get started on the following row. Since we should all be along the base, we're going to find that next available stitch into the base to work our way up to the following row. Flip our work, and now just put 1 half double crochet into every stitch. So yarn over, find that stitch, and insert with 1 half double crochet, and continue putting 1 half double crochet into every stitch. When we reach the end of the row, chain 2, flip our work, and put 1 half double crochet into every stitch, connecting it into the base the same way that we just did. And that's it. Now we're going to continue on with this half double crochet row with no increases and no decreases until I reach the stitch marker stitch that we have along the back. Once we do a chain up of 1 and cut. Then we're going to repeat everything that we just did here on the other side, so inserting your hook into that following stitch marker that we have along the front, doing our decreases for the same amount of rows, and then once we reach our stitch marker stitch in the back, do not do a chain up of 1 and cut, so I can meet you back to show you how we're going to seam it all together. So we have just finished up our collar. We did a chain up of 1 and cut right after we did the first one, and right after we finished up the second one, we did not do a chain up of 1 and cut, so now we can seam it all together. So let's all start by making sure that our work is flipped right side out, right side up, and we're now going to fold our collar up like this so that when we seam it along the back and when we fold it, our seam is underneath. So now let's all take a look at the back. Now this is going to be a single crochet seam, so getting this started, we're going to find that first stitch into the front panel, insert your hook. We're going to find that first stitch into the back panel, insert your hook, and single crochet them together. Let's do that again. Into that next stitch into the front panel, next stitch into the back panel, and single crochet. And we're going to continue doing this until we don't have any more stitches left to work into, and when we don't, do a chain up of 1 and cut. So now that our collar is all seamed up, the last thing we're going to have to do is just clean up our armholes. So let's all make sure that our work is flipped right side out, right side up, and then we're going to be inserting our hook into the stitch that we have that's nearest to our side seam. We're going to insert our yarn onto our hook, pull through, and do a chain up of 1 to secure. And all we're going to do from here is alternate between 1 to 2 single crochets into every side row, making our way all the way up and over. So since we already know how to do this, let's just do the first one. Let's start by finding our first side row, which this is mine right here. As you guys can see, this is where my decrease of 3 double crochets was. I'm going to insert my hook in through there, and if you'd like to weave in your tail ends at the same time, place your tail ends over your hook and single crochet once. Now let's all start by finding our following side row, which this is mine right here. I'm going to insert my hook in through there, now with 2 single crochets. So there's 1, and then there's 2. And that's pretty much it. We're going to continue doing this, making our way all the way up and over. When we don't have any more side rows left to work into, slip stitch into that chain space, do a chain up 1 and cut, and then repeat on the other side. Alright, so now that the single crochet rows along our armholes are all done, we are completely finished. Last thing we're going to have to do is just weave in all of our ends. And there you have it. Hope y'all enjoy the tutorial. Join us on Instagram, Pinterest, or Twitter. Those links are down below. And don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Catch y'all in the next one. Bye!